Hello everyone. This is a warm-up that I wanted to share with you that I'm going to do on Ava, and I really like this exercise because it engages Ava in her brain and it also puts her through her body, all starting at the walk. I think, as many of you know, when you have a hotter horse, getting into too much running, trotting, lunging doesn't necessarily help you get where you're going. The real trick with these horses is to make that connection right with their brain and getting them to agree to work with you. So this exercise in a nutshell is on a 20-meter circle. If you drew a cross at each corner of that 20-meter circle, you're going to ride a 10-meter circle. So you're going to establish the bend of a 10-meter circle, and you're going to be just looking to establish a nice smooth bend. You're going to be looking for the flexion at the pole, the horse bending nicely into the outside rein. And then when you go back onto the 20-meter circle, you are going to leg yield through that quarter of the 20-meter circle until you hit the next corner where your cross would be drawn, and then you're going to keep that same bend from the leg yield and move right back into a 10-meter circle. So that you can see on the one circuit, you're going to leg yield a quarter, do a 10-meter circle, leg yield, and then into a 10-meter circle, and you're going to do that 4 times. And the key to this is that you're looking to establish a nice smooth rhythm. You're looking to get the resistance out of the body. So let's look at Ava and see what she's doing here right now. So you can see when we go into the leg yield, her head starts to pop up. She's bouncing her head up and down. She doesn't want to step through with the outside hind or the inside hind. She's just kind of wiggling all over the place. She's having a big discussion with her mouth. So you can imagine if I just took this to the trot right now, then it would just be the same issues, just a little more magnified. So all I'm doing is keeping this exercise very consistent. The year I touched her with the spur and she didn't like that, so she's having all kinds of issues right now. Swishing her tail around. She's definitely not quite willing or ready to work for the day. So right here she's kind of bumping up into a little bit of a wall. She tends to have a little bit of a tight spot on her left side of her body anyway. So this is just kind of a nice, gentle way to work through it, where I can give her an exercise that's key is very repeatable. She's not doing anything different. I'm not changing the exercise up on her. And she actually has the same bend throughout her body. But also, to keep her engaged and from getting too bored, we are changing the direction, and we are changing from a leg yield to a 10-meter circle, so that it keeps her from getting frustrated as well by doing some same repetitive type task. So we want to do the exercise to both sides, and one of the things that you can kind of use as a good guidepost for yourself when you're doing this exercise to say, okay, have I done this enough, is one, does their body start to feel soft and like this is easy for them? And then also listen for those deep snorts and sighs. When the horse has a really nice deep snort, that tends to mean that they're relaxing the deeper muscles in their body. So once you start to get some of those indications, like here she's still a little bit stuck, so I wouldn't want to quit the exercise right there, because as soon as we go into that 10-meter circle, she's like, I can't move that way. So you just want to kind of move along the exercise until you've reached a better spot, but you don't want to drill it too much, but you also don't want to quit too early. And it'll be fairly obvious if you quit too early. Like you can see here, Ava's still got some tension because I'm asking her to lift through her back and come through, and she wants to trot off versus actually come through her body. So you can see right there on the leg yield, she starts out pretty good, but then she tries to go a little bit, changing the angle, constantly trying to move around in different ways to ease it up for herself. So now I have actually asked her to go into the trot. So with this exercise, the second step after you've gotten what you want at the walk is to then move into the trot. Again, you're still engaging those same types of muscles that you're going to need for the canter and for your more sophisticated lateral work, but it's just a way to kind of ask the question and say, okay, how is your body feeling? Are you ready to be round? I'm sitting on your back. How does that feel? It's a little different because a lot of times you want to post initially to let the horse have a chance to really loosen their back up. But depending on the day, some days Ava is not ready to go off on a nice posting trot, and that's just going to be a little bit of a disaster. So if you do this exercise and let her move along at a smaller trot that I'm going to be looking for at the end of my work, that's okay, because again, the goal of this exercise is to be building the agreement between her ears. I'm not as worried about what's going on. Is she doing the perfect gait? Is everything as big as I want it to be? What I'm wanting her to do is to find that softness in her body. You can see the muscle on her neck right in front of the saddle is starting to come out of her head a little straighter. She's using a little bit less of the underside of her neck. And again, this is all happening through the use of the exercise. This is not something that I'm forcing her to do. The only thing that I'm being insistent upon is that she moves in the direction of the exercise that I've given her. Now, whether or not she is perfectly lifting her belly, I'm not using my spurs to say lift your belly up. I'm just focusing on the bend of the circle and then the lateral movement of the leg yield. And for Ava in particular, her back tends to get a little tight at the beginning. So this is a really nice way to start getting into those muscles, and it doesn't invite a fight or a blowout. Ava definitely likes to try to change the subject on me early on. So this is just another way to keep both of us focused and moving in the way that I want to move. You can see that the horses are out there, and she would like to bring that topic up. But look at her pole. You can see she's starting to raise her pole up on her own a little higher, and she's starting to step through a little more freer from behind. And again, I haven't changed anything that I'm doing. And you can see that her ears are back, listening to me. That she's lifting her head up and down, still trying to play with the bounds of the exercise. And I'm just going to hang out and be patient. This is going to be one of our go-to exercises that I'm going to do at home routinely, so that when we go to a show, this is something that she knows. And so when we go into this exercise, that she goes, oh yeah, I got it. This is the exercise we do. So now I'm testing it out a little bit, just going into the canter to see. I have to watch with Ava. Sometimes I tend to lean a little bit too far forward. She kind of throws me up off of her back a little bit, and I go with it. And we're getting to the stage of our training now where she needs to just allow me to sit on her back and not bounce me around and move it off. So she's actually moving into a fairly nice canter. It was polite and manageable. She's still arguing with me a little bit. She's still fluffing her tail, but she's not pulling on me in a bullying hard way that I can't control. And it's bringing all the parts of her body together. So now I'm going to go back to the trot, and you can see she kind of runs off to the trot. So we still need to work on our half halts and our balance. But again, this is a warm-up exercise that I'm using to get her into her body and getting to the point where she's agreeing to work with me. Now I'm going to go ahead and ask for a little stretchy circle. Now with Ava, I don't just give her the buckle, because she's still learning that, how to stretch, and she gets about halfway up, she wants to spook, or she wants to pop her head up a little bit. And so I do have a stretchy circle, but I usually give her a little less than she's asking for. And then we come back down to the walk, so she gets a little break and a little reward. And of course, I've cantered one direction, so I'm going to need to canter the other direction as well, because what you do on one side you want to do on the other side. But as we go through this exercise, you can see this is going to have taken about 10, maybe 12 minutes, and this is going to get us to a spot where we're just about getting ready to start thinking about doing some work, but we've got her into a good place so that we can get some work done. So before I go ahead and pick up the trot right away, she was a little stiff after I picked her back up, so I went back to the walk and did a leg yield. Now I'm going back to the trot, and I'm going to go ahead and do a little bit of a circle. So, you know, the horse just will tell you. You may have your agenda of what you want to do, but you're going to have to wait on the horse to let you know when they're ready. So we did a little bit of a walk and then the trot, and then I picked up the canter again. Fairly polite. Now here, this is probably a pretty good canter for where we're at in our stage of training. She's not totally on the forehand, but she's not sitting a whole bunch yet. And but this canter feels really nice, and you know, she doesn't have any of those kinks in her back where I'm wondering, is she going to kick out or is she going to have to buck? This circle, again, it's a 20-meter circle. You draw a cross inside the circle, and then where each of those 4 points of the cross touches, you ride a 10-meter circle. And remember, the key is that you're maintaining the bend. You establish the bend on a 10-meter circle. You take that same bend along the line of the 20-meter circle for your leg yield. And that's what we do. Have fun with this exercise.